All right, what's up, guys? So we're back again for another installment in the summer research series. So we're going to be writing some more code today. A little bit more complicated than last time, but nonetheless more fun. So go ahead and cut video and share screen here. So basically, what I'm trying to do, I have a picture pulled up conveniently, is Dr. Daniels wants me to generate a plot that looks like this. So you're probably wondering, you know, what the heck this is supposed to be. But basically, what we wanted to do was earlier this week, what I did was I plotted uh, basically some error um, in a experimental simulation here, right? So basically, what this is telling us is that if we were to run an experimental simulation using what's called Poisson distributions for experimental count rates, we would have a lot of error in the forward angles. Basically, anything less than 60 degrees we saw on this graph before we zoomed it in on the lower error regions, that we would have a crap ton of error in those lower regions. So what he wanted to do today was kind of in this same kind of frame to calculate a kind of error looking graph, so to speak, but we're doing something different. So the last time that I did this, I calculated some average cross sections at different angles, accounting for the angular range of the detectors. So basically what this means, guys, is that our detector face has a size. And because of that size, whenever it detects a scattered alpha particle, there's some variation in the angle that it's actually going to detect it scattering at. And that error has to be accounted for because basically the goal of the experiment is to detect these alpha particles at different scattering angles and be able to reproduce the cross-sectional graph um, up here and compare, okay, how does our experimental data compare to this theoretical prediction of cross section at different scattering angles? And so, based on the count rates we get at different scattering angles, we can reconstruct this curve working backwards because count rates and cross section depend on each other, just some rearranging of the equations. And what we were noticing when we did that uh, prior was that we were getting a whole lot of error in the front end, and we were basically going to have to discard all of the forward angles less than 80 degrees. So, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 degrees scattering angle. We were going to have to basically just not look at those because the error was so bad. The only problem with doing that is that if you come back and you look at our count rates, right? So the count rates that we had produced, right, steeply drop off as you get to angles like 80 degrees. We're talking like 27 counts over 8 hours. That's what this calculation is. Whereas at 30 degrees, we're getting over 1,000 counts for 3 hours, which is substantially more data, which decreases the error, etc. And so he was like, well, that's not good because, it's going to be really hard to look at only those larger scattering angles because the count rates are so low. So he wanted to come up with a different way to kind of grab that average. So the way that he came up with um, is to actually do an average using integration as opposed to how I was doing it before, which is where I'm just kind of averaging over two angles and then dividing out the actual cross section at that angle. So what I mean by that, and what I'll do is I'll actually take a picture of the formula I'm using and email it to myself real quick so you guys can actually take a look at it. Give me 1 second to do that. Because the Python has integration functions, which I'm using this one here, using SciPy integrate and this quad function, which gives you a definite integral evaluation. So let me go ahead and email myself this picture so you guys can see what I actually coded up in Python. Send it through now. So there we go. Oh, I guess I didn't. Sorry, guys. Should be working now. There we go. Okay. So this is the actual formula that I'm going to be integrating. So what we do is we take our cross-sectional equation and we integrate it at specific angles, accounting for the range of the detector. That's what theta d minus delta theta and theta d plus delta theta means, where delta theta is 20. Sorry, my cat's knocking stuff over on my desk. And then we just divide the whole thing by the range of our angles evaluated at the range of the detector. And so that actually gives us a much better average cross section for those different points. And so I did that here. So this first part here is our first integral. Second part here is our second integral. You just divide the two, and then that spits out our average cross section. Right. So then what I did was I took these average cross-sectional values and generated count rates from those cross-section values, just working backwards, just rearrange the equation to determine the incident number. And so the equation I'm actually using here, I have it in my research report that I've been writing. This is the equation here, where that's the cross section, the number of incident alpha particles, the solid angle of the detector, and the areal thickness of the foil, and that gives us a count rate. And what we'll do soon here is work backwards and rearrange this for cross section based on our number and generate our data. So once I got those count rates, I do what's called a Poisson distribution, where I take those count rates as a mean and get the Poisson distribution function in Python to just basically generate some random count rates based on those mean averages or those mean values. And those would be what's called like the simulated experimental data. And this calculation, which I need to tweak to Dr. Daniel's liking, is actually accounting for those sampled count rates and calculating an experimental cross section based on those sample count rates, and then computing the error bars using the square root n propagation. And so what I already have plotted here is those error bars compared to a curve. But instead of a curve, Dr. Daniels actually wants me to, like in this picture here, plot the cross-sectional values as bar graphs, where the height of the bar graph is the actual cross section, and the bar graph spans from the angle variation. So, like if we started at 30 degrees plus or minus 20, the bar graph is going to range from 10 to 50, with the centroid being at 30 degrees, and then we're going to plot our point with error bars in that bin essentially. Same thing for 70 and 110, etc. So what I'm actually going to try to do now hopefully is make that happen. Um, However, I do feel like I need some coffee, but I'm not gonna cut the video to go make coffee. That would be pointless. I'm just gonna really try to work through that and see what I can get, hopefully. So the first thing that he wanted me to do was for our theoretical model, actually just code in the average cross section that I calculated, which I can do because I have it up here. So for my theoretical model, I'm actually just going to do average cross section. I'm going to let that equal a NumPy array of these cross-sectional values that I have up here. I'll go ahead and grab those. Now, there are some things I need to make sure that I'm doing correctly. So, um, one of the things that I need to make sure is, okay, so it's giving me my average at these different points, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. But I believe that Dr. Daniels just wants the average cross section at those centroid points. So 30, 70, 110, and so on. So what I actually need to do is either I can rerun this calculation for different theta values. Let me see if I can do that. Run at 30, 1, 20 seconds. I wanted to go seams in increments of 40. I gotta find a way to fit my limb space to do that. Shoot. I think 4 should do it. Oh, that's actually print my array to make sure it's giving me the right values. 30, 80, 130. So I'm close. Wait, so 5 should do it. Right now. 36, 30, 60, 90. This is a downside. What's 5 again? 5 was closer. I didn't like that. So that's giving me 30, but I want 40. I need to go. 7 would make it less, right? Now it's 25. 5 was just too little. 4 is just too much, but it's not going to let me do 4.5. Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe If I increase this to 190, there we go. Now that's giving me 190, which I don't really need, but that's fine for now. Because this is giving me good enough. Pretty much is how I would call it. So 30 to 190 and 5. Okay. So this should give me what I need. Yeah. So what this is doing now is it's giving me the cross section value at 30 degrees, the average cross section value at 30, 70, 110, 150, which are the ones I'm going to pull. So I don't actually need the 190. I'm just going to disregard it. I just need these first 4 inputs in my array. And that should be good enough for me to get what I need. I'll grab those. And now I can get rid of this. I don't know if that did. Right. My cat is not happy with me because he keeps trying to type on my keyboard, and I can't have him doing that while I'm trying to code. He wants to code. He's probably better than me, honestly. Um, okay, so now that I have those average cross sections, that's going to represent the height of my bar graph. And so based on this website, which I'm using, X, let's see, X, the X coordinates of the bar, bars are often used for data. Hmm. So, hmm. So I'm gonna throw this together real quick in a different. I want to make sure because I know that I've got this part that's generating the points is essentially correct. I just need to tweak it to be doing uh, different errors basically. Like I'm gonna take these sample counts and I'm gonna shrink it to be at uh these 4 values instead of 16, which I've got here. So I'll have to do that, but that's a lot easier compared to actually making sure my bar graph is running like I want it to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that I can plot the actual bar graph. So let me try to do that here. So let me see how this goes. because I haven't done any. I'm not familiar with this type of graphing in Python. Um, but that's fine. We're kind of learning on the go, which is typical for what I've been doing with research this go around. So height would be average cross section. And I think X I can actually make as an array of uh, size 4, 1, 4, I suppose, 1 row, 4 columns, just like this. So that should be 30, 70, 110, 150. And if I name that X, that should work. And this should work. Invalid star expression. Oh, that. I think I should get rid of this as well. No, of course. Run that. That is not defined. Well, sure it is. Do I have to import anything for this? What I did. So now I'm basically looking up what I need to put in the library's line of code to make sure that I can use the bar graph. Uh, well, I did that. Okay, maybe it's because I just need to write plot.bar instead of all that because I imported it as something different. So that should, okay. All right, that's confusing. Okay. Definitely should log scale this. Okay, that's okay. It's actually not bad. But I need to obviously make the width more. I believe I need to make the width 20. Ah, yes. Whoa, yeah. No, that's not right. Because the centroid is at 30. So why is it going? Oh, it's 20 width total. So if it's going, it should actually be 40. Aha. That's going to cut at 50 and that's going to cut at 10. Okay, that's actually right. That's exactly what we need it to look like. Beautiful. Is there any way I can format this better? I can like see it. Edge color. Oh, is that? No, this is for, no, this is for bars. Other parameters, color the bar faces, edge color. Okay. Throw that in there to make it easier to see. Wonderful. Okay, so this is what Daniels wanted, as you can see from this. Now, okay, I don't think that this was meant to be like, height accurate. I was just kind of drawing based on what he was showing me. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to tweak these here. So what I need to do is I need to go from 30 to 190. And what was it? Cuts of five. Yeah, cuts of basically what this lens space function is doing is it's saying, okay, we're going to range from 30 to 190 and we're going to put out five values. So it divides that range into five. And so that's why I was kind of playing around with what number to use because I want it to cut equally and I also want it to cut into the centroids that I want. So the only issue here is I might have an extra value. Okay, well, we're not going to worry about that now. We'll see how it goes. So I got to import this in here. And I also need my bar graph to be imported. So now what I need to do is I need to do my sample counts. Yeah, I know exactly what I need to do. I need to take these and I can generate different angles. We're making my angles instead of a lens space, I'm actually going to make it an array just to be sure that it's going to give me the right points. So 30, 70, 110, and 150. Might have to tweak this later, make it arrays instead of lens spaces, just so I can be exact on what angles and stuff I'm using. So I might do that later, but I gotta go to work soon. So I'm gonna do as much as I can here. So now my cross sections actually need to just be these four, which correspond to those values. And now what this is going to do is it's going to generate those count rates. Oh, I need to make it a range actually. Oh no, no, I'm not true. I need to just put the bars in. As long as I put the bars in, it should be fine. Yeah, there we go. So there's my counts. Now I need to take these counts and throw them into my Poisson stuff here. So it's 6, 7, 5, 54.88, 11.16, and 5.522. Now I have my theoretical count rates, or sorry, my experimental count rates, simulated experimental count rates. Throw those in there. Okay. Now for my angles, I believe I'm gonna have to make this an array instead of a linspace. I think that's what I'm gonna find is most effective. So I'm gonna call it 30, 70, 110, and 150. Now, angle range here. Hmm. That I think I need to make an array as well. I'm gonna cut it after this. If it doesn't run, then sorry guys. I'll show you how it runs in the next video. 'Cause I gotta leave soon. So the science must be put on the back burner to go make a living, unfortunately, because I don't get paid to do this. So, all right. Ah, okay, okay, sweet. That actually ran, but I don't want that curve. Where is that curve? Oh, that curve's coming from this guy, which I actually don't need. I just need that so I can do it better. Don't mean error. Okay, so sweet, sweet, sweet. Cool. Okay, I think this is correct, guys. I think this is what we need. So great. Um, cool. Yeah. I mean, that looks like the email. So awesome. I'll be sending this to, I won't see Dr. Daniels again until Monday, so I won't have any feedback for you, but everything seemed to work, so that's awesome. So cool, guys. Well, that completes today's episode, and I'll see you guys at a later time. I'm gonna cut the screen share real quick. Turn video on so you can see my helper here. I just woke him up from a nap, but he'll be fine. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.